Welcome everyone. The topic for the day is occupational health and safety. The policy and planning is what we will be discussing in this particular session. So here is what typically production unit would be comprising of primarily in Southeast Asia and anywhere where there is a textile industry. So basically, what is an occupational health? If you look into it, it is the promotion and maintenance of highest degree of physical, cognitive, and social well-being of workers in all occupation. That is what we are looking at it. The social well-being of the workers, the mental well-being of the workers, the physical well-being of the workers in all things that needs to be noted down. So, component of occupational health, what are they? We will be talking about those six components that has been mentioned out here, and then we'll talk about a little bit of a revision. If you look into it, we talk about industrial hygiene, industrial diseases, industrial accident, industrial hazards, industrial rehabilitation, and the last but not the least is the psychology, occupational psychology. Certain job warrants you to be in high pressure, high situation, high stress situation handling. So you need to be maintaining your cool and calm. Certain jobs needs you to be working or speaking very loudly, or should I say simply shouting, as the noise or the decibel level in that particular area, the shop floor is very high. So you need to understand for different kind of jobs there are different kind of temperament that needs to be speaking about speaking around. So we need to maintain certain psychology, occupational psychology. Definitely, yes. These are the things that we'll be covering in this particular presentation. So the agenda is to basically get the workers akin to the health, absolutely health parameters, mm, in a way to prevent them from any departures, any anomaly from the health causes due to working conditions. So basically, we are marrying the worker and the health in the best optimum capacity. Basically, or in other words, we are protecting the workers from risk resulting from the adversity of the health due to the occupation that he or she is involved in. Placing maintenance of workers in an occupational environment, adapting to his psychological, physiological equipment is what we are looking into it. Both the physical and the cognitive ability should be working optimally so that this will result in a very many absolute fundamental things, betterment and productivity of the organization, adaptation of the workers to the man and probably man to his job. So there is a perfect coordination and marriage between the person and the job thereby. So we are looking at the health condition that arises because of the occupational things and probably trying to balance the mental ability and the physical qualities required for the job, and definitely has to have a right temperament fit in the person in. So ILO recommendation, International Labour Organization, what do they recommend? So we are talking about certain kinds of things that needs to be promoted among the employees. Number one being nutrition. Now you will be speaking nutrition, how the company is going to provide it for. No, definitely not. The company do at many places, many industrial units do run a lot of canteen or cafeteria facility that can be spoken about it, where a subsidized meal has been offered, which should be equally nutritional to all the employees. So that is what we're looking into it. The prevention and the control of communicable disease, one thing that needs to be taken care of. Communicable, because if that becomes a rampant in the organization, suddenly you will find every workers down with a health issue. That should not be there, and it is not at all ideal situation. So environmental sanitation is one of the parameters that we keep on harping around it. Water supply, provisions of food and snacks, toilet facilities, absolutely hygienic toilet that comes around it, provisions of food and snack. I've already spoken about in terms of a cafeteria or facility that has been extended. Apart from it, a general housekeeping that needs to be done in terms of cleanliness of the plant area, the floor area, the airspace. It should be 500 cubic feet for at least, Then we are talking about the wastage and the garbage disposal, responsible disposal. Remember, we are not going to litter it out here and there and let it rot. We'll talk about the lighting and the ventilations, proper lighting. Look at the ergonomics out here. Absolutely, at the eye levels is your terminal that comes around here. So we need to have such kind of facilities which protects us from hazards and facility that can be communicated. We are sure that the employees would be benefited by certain regular health issues that comes around. That is one of them is a maternity benefit, first aid kits in case people are falling injured or probably sick. As at times the first aid remedial measures could have been taken place. That there should be a provision for the children as far as creche is concerned. Family planning should also be stressed upon. Definitely, yes, the psychological impact, the health, the mental health needs to be done, jotted down, and probably adhered to altogether. Last but not the least would be the health education. Everybody should be aware that health is wealth and health cannot be neglected. So here we goes about it. Absolutely camaraderie between the employees. If you look out here, in wherein you find there's a mutual respect for each others. So what are the occupational hazards? People might say me, right? So we will term it into the five different categories, which is physical, chemical, biological, mechanical, and psychosocial. Now we'll talk about physical things. This is what affects you physically in terms of extreme heat, extreme cold that comes around it, occupational hazard that comes, light, noise, vibration, UV rays is ultraviolet rays that might lead to certain kind of rashes on your skin, ionizing. Then comes the chemical is all the local actions, inhalations, ingestions that we talk about it. Biological would be your bacteria, virus, fungi, parasite, protozoans. Now, this is what is going to be imposed upon the workers, the staff, the employees are going to be exposed to such kind of local action, inhalation, due to inhalation and ingestion, which might lead to certain biological anomalies. Apart from it, there might be mechanical problems which will result in accident. People might trip over, fall down. People might get be trapped because of faulty handling, material handling altogether. Psychosocial is about the social condition wherein certain people in the certain profession will take pride in your job. On the other hand, people might not be very much proud for the job that they are interested in. So we need to build that sense of belongingness, loyalty, and sense of dignity among all the employees accordingly, be it physical, chemical, biological, mechanical, and psychosocial impediments or hazard being present there. So, talking about the physical hazards is the burns and the heat exhaustion, heat stroke that often comes up, which leads to cramp in the body, decreased efficiency, fatigue, and increased accident rates. On the other hand, in case of a cold, we have the chilblains, uh, erythrocyanosis, immersion cyanosis, frostbite, and hypothermia. In wherein probably you might have to ampute certain part of your limbs because of an extreme cold, as the blood cease to get circulated in that particular area. So that is what we need to understand. Light, on the other hand, is what stresses your eye, and once the eyes get stressed, it leads to headache, pain in the eye, like congestions around the cornea, eye fatigue. It's a minor nystagmus discomfort, annoyance that creeps in. So we need to understand about the physical hazard in terms of heat, cold, and light around it. Then we'll move to the noise. Now, hearing at a working at a very high decibel places might actually lead to a permanent hearing loss. There might be nervousness, fatigue, or lack of confidence that might be built around it. What does it mean? It means decreased efficiency. It means decreased communication. It means increased annoyance towards the job. So this is what the noise can relate to. Then comes the vibration, wherein white finger or injuries to joint actually happens around it. People are always shaking, and people at times do not have that control over their limbs altogether because of the continuous shaking nature that comes around it. Ultraviolet radiation is conjunctivitis, keratitis, redness of eyes and pain that comes around. This is what happens with ultraviolet radiation when people have been exposed to. So we need to understand that. Then comes the ionizing radiation, which is genetic changes, malformation, cancer, leukemia, depilations, ulceration, sterility, and death. This is what we are interested in upon. So talking about chemical hazard, now everything we have spoken about was physical hazard. So what does it happen? Now with local action, what happened? It is dermatitis, eczema, ulcer, cancer, allergy, you name it, we have it. It can be on your skin, it can be on any places. You might be susceptible to serious problem like cancer. How does it happen? It happens, one is through the inhalation of dust, which is beyond zero point 0.1 or 150 microns. So probably then there are dust particles which are less than 5 micron directly inhaled into the lungs. Pneumonitis, silicosis, that happens. Anthracosis, bisosis, that needs to talk about it. We have to work, we have to understand what is it all about here. Gases is all about poisoning. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Since this is not CO2, this is carbon monoxide. There's only one carbon, one oxygen. Anesthetic gases, ether or chloroform. We are talking about metal in the compound. The toxic effect that happens on certain metals on ourselves. I have shown this, incorporated this photograph for you to understand what are the biological hazard. Look at the person. You look, there are blisters all over the skin. It is deteriorating by leaps and bounds if you want to see it out here. So exposure is an effect of parasitic agents, which can be brucellosis, leptospirosis, anthrax, hydroiditis, what you name it, and we have tetanus, encephalitis, fungal infection, and so on and so forth. So these are environment. Then comes the mechanical hazard, the accident that come across. Approximately 10% of the accident occurs because of faulty machine handling or faulty machine in the first. So we come to the psychosocial hazard. So socio-psycho-hazard or psychosocial hazard, one and the same thing, which is basically because of the mundane effect of the job, probably which leads to loss of job, probably frustration, insecurity, poor human relation, emotional tension, and that comes around it, absenteeism. This is what is all about. This is the thing that comes around. We need to maintain a business of rapid, probably keeping ourselves together, being with the system time and again. So let us go for what are the impact. Please understand this is only halfway to the presentation going around it. I want to hammer the point that needs to be out here. First and foremost, the occupational disease that comes around it. What are they? They are due to physical agents. They are due to chemical agents. They are due to biological agents. What are the things? Occupational cancer, occupational dermatitis, and disease of psychological origin. These are things that we spoke around just a moment back. These are the things that we went around. Let us understand, because of the heat, because of the cold, because of the light, what all happens with this. With heat, it will be heat hyperexia, heat exhaustions, heat scope, and heat cramps, burns, prickly. People actually faint with extreme heat altogether. Something similar happens with the trench foot, frostbite, and chilblains. In terms of extreme cold, when people are exposed to extreme cold, people actually die because in extreme cold situation, the presence of oxygen also gets limited altogether. So we need to understand that thing. We have to speak about the light, the occupational cataract or the minus nystagmus comes around it, wherein you have problem with your eyes as such. You are not able to accustom to the bright light because you are always used to working in the dark dim areas if you are working in a mine. So that needs to be understood. Then there is something called pressure, which is air embolism, as in what is the power of your lungs. It might get diminished severely. Noises is occupational deafness, which actually happens. People often exposed to a higher decibel above sound tends to appreciate sound on a lower decibel, doesn't appreciate at all, or should I say they are not able to hear, or their hearing becomes limited. Mechanical factors are all of the reasons and causes of injuries thereby. So this needs to be understood time and again. We'll talk about the chemical agents. What are the poisoning? I have already said around it. The carbon monoxide poisoning, the ammonia poisoning, the sulfuric acid poisoning. This is what is happening, and because of the dust, it's a pneumonocyanosis that happens. Inorganic dust. When I say inorganic dust, I'm talking about coal, anthracis, silica, and things like that. We are talking again of the things. We are talking again of the foreign particle being present in your biological or in your organ, asbestos, irons, siderosis. So with coal dust we can have anthracis, with silica we have got silicosis, with asbestos we have the asbestosis, and iron with the siderosis that we come across with. Similarly, with organic dust, this is because of certain plant material things that being inhaled. In terms of cane fiber, it causes bagasosis. In terms of cotton dust, it's called biocyonosis. In terms of tobacco, it's tobaccosis, and hay or grain dust leads to a farmer's lungs. Farmer's lungs where rich ages rapidly altogether. Disease due to biological agents are many, be it anthrax, be it tetanus, which is cytokisis, be it encephalitis, be it fungal infection. Occupational cancers are cancers of lungs, skins, and bladders that happens. Dermatitis and eczema are the occupational dermatitis, which is basically infection on your skin. It itches a lot, it changes the color, it tweaks a lot, the skin is looking very unattractive if you get into occupational dermatologist. Now we'll talk about the industrial neurosis, hypertension and peptic ulcer, which is all about psychological. Peptic ulcer because of the deadline that comes around it, hypertension because of the immense pressure that has been put across it. Industrial neurosis is because of the uncertainty of with the job or instability at the job that the suffers from. So occupational diseases are the list in which is scheduled in a notified disease list. The act includes for provisions of occupational health survey in factory industries. The amendment of such acts specifies procedures related to hazardous process. The site appraisal committees is to be involved in examining the service condition of employees involved in the hazardous process. Please do remember that this is of vital importance. Then we comes to the cinemas and theaters. What is happening in a urban setting? The road, motor transport establishment, newspaper establishment. The acts that involves any and every employee, be it manual, be it clerical, be it supervisory, be it technical, approximately anything that comes around it. This needs to be understood. The extra benefit, what are the extra benefit that comes around with the jobs? Probably an extended sickness benefit, artificial limbs. Probably this is there will be extended, but do I recommend? Absolutely not. Family medical care, protection against dismissal or longevity in the job, permanence in the job is there. Probably funeral expenses, again one of those facilities which at least no one would like to avail at all. Then comes the rehabilitation allowances in cases of permanent disabilities. How does it works around medical facilitations to the dependents that we talk about it, if it is there, apart from the worker, apart from the employees, apart from the staff of the organization, does his or her family gets covered here? With this I come to an end of this wonderful presentation. Thank you for watching this video.